Well, there was an article from a couple of weeks ago on Bassmaster Online by Rick Clunn, and it really caught my attention. It was entitled "The Little Bait That Could." And essentially what Rick was talking about is that over the course of his career, especially recently, the lures that used to get the job done for him as far as locating fish pre-tournament, in today's world of heavily pressured waters, and to do well in these tournaments, is he's had to throw bigger baits for fewer bites. Well, that is tough to do, especially if you're trying to figure out what is in an area. You know, you go to a new body of water and you pick a spot and you want to figure out what is there. And then the article goes on to talk about he remembered many years ago throwing the little Bagley honeybee, tiny little crankbait, and how well it worked for finding fish and what was in a particular location. And that really got me to thinking. I went out on the water and I was going to do some investigating myself, lost all my footage, and then the storm was coming in and I had to get off. But within about the first 10 minutes, I was throwing this tiny little square bill, this KVD 1.0, and in that first 10 minutes I had about a nice 2-pounder just absolutely obliterate that thing. And then I had to get off the water, but I had an arsenal of a bunch of tiny baits with me. First one was this Bitsy pond minnow, and I'm not gonna lie, this is hard for me to throw this. This is really tiny. And then, like I said, I had the KVD 1.0 square bill, and I also had with me a Series 1 Pro Model crankbait. And as you can see here, the 1.0 is considerably smaller than this Series 1 crankbait, all shallow divers. But what really intrigued me about this is we talk about all the time on this channel about finding fish. You got to find fish before you can start to catch fish. And there are certain lures and presentations that do a good job of locating bass, and then we can go back and slow down with something else. And I guess the way I was thinking about this was kind of like finesse crankbait fishing, but I could still cover water. I could still move right on down the shoreline, cover points and saddles, funnels, all this type of stuff, and find where fish were positioned. Now, Rick was using this to pre-fish for a tournament, so how can we apply this to our home waters or for our recreational fishing, whether we're tournament fishing or, you know, just out fun fishing? How can we apply this? Well, like I mentioned earlier, we talk about finding fish all the time. You got to locate them before you can catch them. And the interesting thing was, so after I caught this, you know, 2-pounder just almost immediately, and before I had to trailer because of the storm coming in, there was a stretch of shoreline about 50 yards at like nothing. I mean, there was no life, no minnows. I was not seeing anything whatsoever. Then all of a sudden, you know, I was still throwing this little 1.0 square bill, and I hit a patch, and then it seemed like life was everywhere, coming out of nowhere and following this bait. Now, they didn't hit it, but I saw all kinds of panfish. I saw small bass. I saw just everything you can imagine coming up to take a look at this. Well, as an angler, that's such valuable information. Now that I know there is life there, okay? Find life, find the bass. I can now go pick up something different, Ned rigs, wacky rigs, drop shots, whatever it might be, and I found this very defined area that was holding a lot of life. Well, you better believe that there's going to be predators down there as well. So we can apply this in so many situations. I know for many of you out there, myself included, you go to a body of water on a weekend and the boat ramp is absolutely slammed full, or you're a shore angler and it seems like you pull up to your favorite spot and there's 15, 20 people there already. Well, this is something that's a little bit different. You're just not going to find a ton of anglers throwing these smaller, these diminutive type crankbaits to locate fish. So hopefully we catch fish on them. That's our absolute goal. But boy, if they can give you some information to know what is there, man, that is so critically important. And hey, if you would like to watch a video that talks about a structure element that holds bass all the time, go ahead and check this one out right here. I think you'll find it interesting. And make sure that you go out and encourage someone today You never know how you might just change their life. For the Bass Fishing Life, I'm your host, Steve Rogers.